Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good morning to all those in the US. Thank you for joining us today for the official launch event for the Women Empowerment Program for Latin America, which was developed in partnership between UNODC's Education for Justice, E4J initiative, and the Ban Ki-moon Center for Global Citizens. It's an honor for me to very briefly open today's event, and I am pleased to welcome an esteemed panel of high-level officials. Ms. Ghada Wali, the Executive Director of the UN Office on Drugs and Crime, Her Excellency Al-Marzuri, Federal Minister of Justice of Austria, Mr. Heinz Fischer, the 11th President of Austria and co-founder of the Ban Ki-moon Center for Global Citizens, and His Excellency Mr. Sultan Al-Marzuri, the Permanent Representative of the State of Qatar to the United Nations in Vienna, and Her Excellency Ms. Loipa Sanchez Lorenzo, the Permanent Representative of Cuba to the United Nations and the current chair of the GRULAC. And of course, our two impressive moderators who I will give the floor to in a second. Just to briefly mention, the new Women Empowerment Initiative will start out by fostering action among young women leaders from Bolivia, Brazil, El Salvador, Honduras, and Peru. It will also leverage the power of education to promote justice and the rule of law, while strengthening leadership skills to advance the Sustainable Development Goals in Latin American communities. And all aspects of this work, of course, are of great importance to UNODC. But we're very pleased that the Education for Justice program under the Doha Declaration Global Program, which is supported by the generous contribution of the State of Qatar, has integrated this as a priority in its work. And the Ban Ki-moon Center for Global Citizens, thanks to its expertise and advanced programs on leadership, mediation, advocacy, and education, is an ideal partner for the E4J initiative, as it shares our core vision of equipping youth, and women in particular, with the life skills and knowledge to become change makers and to ignite positive change in their communities and beyond. The E4J Ban Ki-moon partnership is uniquely positioned to influence the next generation of women leaders. And I'll end my remarks on a personal note. Since the beginning of my career, I've been inspired by many impressive women professionals, including those who taught me how multilateralism can work, including how to negotiate effectively, how integrity can take you far, and much, much more. And most of my mentors, in fact, for my current career path, have been women, and I'm still inspired daily by women mentors and colleagues who have demonstrated over time with real life examples how women can more generally make our world better and help to bring everyone closer together. So I'm pleased to see that through this new initiative and today's event, we're investing in the future and the future of all society, including men as well as women, by identifying new ways of forging partnerships to advance the status of and empower women from different parts of the world. So I look forward to this discussions, and will now hand over to our co-moderators for this session, two impressive colleagues who will take over the session. Monica Furler, who is the CEO of the Ban Ki-moon Center, and Lulua Assad, who is the coordinator for the E4J initiative. So over to Monica and Lulua.
Thank you so much, Director Brandolino. It's a privilege to be here with this incredibly high, stellar-studded speakers list. Without much further ado, the Ban Ki-moon Center is happy to collaborate with UNODC, and particularly thankful to the State of Qatar to make this Women Empowerment Program for Latin America possible. It's my pleasure to moderate together with my colleague Lulua Assad. And Lulua, with this, over to you.
Thank you, Monica, and I share exactly your sentiments. Without further ado, I'm honored to give the floor to Ms. Ghada Wali, the Executive Director of the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. Ms. Wali, you are the first woman and the first Arab and African to lead UNODC, and you have been passionate since the beginning of your distinguished career in promoting and empowering women in different sectors of the society. With this in mind, how can the UNODC gender strategy and the organization's work support this important cause? Ms. Wali, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, everyone. Minister Al-Marzuri and friends and participants, I'm very happy to join you in today's event to discuss a topic that is indeed very close to my heart. Indeed, empowering women and gender mainstreaming is a challenge in the thematic areas of UNODC, and it is among my top priorities, a personal priority to empower women and strengthen their contribution and the role in the different sectors that we work in. All our work addressing drugs challenges, crime, justice, terrorism, and corruption, every thematic area we work in has a gender dimension. Women are disproportionately subjected to many forms of crime and violence, and yet the sectors that are responsible for combating these threats, just like so many other sectors, are overwhelmingly dominated by men. So female judges, police officers, prosecutors, and other criminal justice practitioners, those who help bring a crucial perspective and produce better outcomes for everyone, remain a minority in countries around the world. Countries in the West and in the East, developed and least developed countries, everywhere in these sectors, women are a minority. While their contribution, their participation brings a different perspective and really makes a great difference. So growing up and working in development for years with UNDP in my region, I early on realized that it's about education and it's about economic empowerment. We need to provide women with education and empower them economically. They need to have their own income. They need to be able to provide for themselves and their families so that they're not coerced into any relationship, be it a professional or a personal relationship that keeps them abused. So women remain excluded and marginalized in many aspects of life, and specifically in our field of work. A recent study by the Economic Commission for Latin America and in the Caribbean with ILO revealed that for each hour worked, women earnings are on average 17% below those of men. So women performing the same job get paid less money. This economic disparity intersects with the vulnerabilities, the risks, the factors that leave women unsafe, unprotected, and unequal. But we know that there is no path to sustainable development without inclusion, equality, and shared solutions involving all women. Development cannot take place in a society where 50% is not included. Just like one cannot walk on one leg, you cannot really do it without empowering women. And it's about enabling them to have access and exercise their rights, ensuring that they have equal opportunities at home, in the workplace, and in society at large. So this was the spirit behind the UNODC UNOV gender strategy. And I'm very proud to tell you and share with you that we have achieved gender parity this year, just a few months ago. And overall gender parity has been reached, but we still have to work on some professional levels where women are less represented. While in every single aspect of our work, we want to make sure that women are included as beneficiaries, that they are included in the planning stage of our program, that they are addressed in the policies and the legislative reforms. We are working in Latin America and around the world to help member states include and empower women within specifically the criminal justice systems and leverage their powerful contribution to effective responses. For example, our global action against trafficking in persons and smuggling of migrants and our container control program are both supported by dedicated networks of women professionals and gender champions seeking to promote women's role, leadership, and inclusion in their fields of work. In the Latin American context, a recent example of our work demonstrates that the best way to protect women is to empower them as part of the response. In Mexico, we have trained over 12,000 officers. Many of them are women, to improve responses and attention to victims of violent crime, including gender-based violence. We have to help women, protect women, but we also have to train men and train women who are providing these services. So the office developed also various educational resources and tools that address violence against girls, because this has to start early on in the educational system, at schools, in universities, not just in the workplace. Earlier this year, a woman we trained, Alejandra Ruiz Ortiz, was one of 2 officers honored by Mexico's Ministry of Public Security for having a positive impact on their communities and protecting victims in vulnerable situations. To dispel outdated beliefs, education is our most powerful tool. So through education, we shape the perception of boys and girls about women's place in the world. We also equip girls and women with knowledge and skills they need to act as agents of change and become champions for a safer, fairer, and more equal world. So our Education for Justice initiative has been a success story in promoting the values of integrity, the rule of law throughout all levels of education, while mainstreaming gender and women's empowerment into every aspect of its work. I'm confident that Women's Empowerment Program launched today by the Education for Justice and the Ban Ki-moon Center for Global Citizens will produce female champions for justice and equality in Latin America. And it's not just about education, it's about education and challenging cultural norms. It's about the media, it's about drama and art. It's all aspects and all walks of life where we have to really portray inspirational women and make them part of the public space. I'm grateful for Mr. Heinz Fischer, co-founder of Ban Ki-moon Center and former president of Austria, for his commitment to gender equality and to future generations. I'm also very grateful and proud to once again have the opportunity at this Grand Commission to join Minister Zadic, an inspiring woman leader and a champion for justice, someone who is very inspiring, not just for the women in Austria, but for women all over the world. We need the contributions of women and girls in Latin America and around the world to achieve the SDGs and create fair, prosperous, and inclusive societies. Through education and inclusion, we can ensure that women are not left behind, but instead they lead the way forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Executive Director Wali, for your words. It is my privilege now to introduce to everyone Her Excellency Dr. Alma Sadic, Federal Minister of Justice of the Republic of Austria. Many of you will know that before she worked as Minister of Justice, she was also serving as a member of the Austrian National Council and was working as a lawyer in Vienna. She studied in Vienna, but also at Columbia University. Your Excellency, you are representing Austria, and maybe you can tell us what are Austria's achievements when it comes to women involvement and gender mainstreaming, particularly in matters of justice and the rule of law, and what kind of role does education play in all of this? Your Excellency, you're still muted. I think you have to unmute yourself.
Okay. So
now we can hear you.
Thank you very much, the Executive Director, the President. First of all, I would like to thank the UNODC Education for Justice Initiative and the Ban Ki-moon Center for Global Citizens for inviting me to this round of distinguished speakers. I would also like to congratulate you on this outstanding idea of the Women's Empowerment Program, and also the 20 exceptional young women who will take part in it. I think it's a great initiative, and it's always good to have programs like this to empower women. We cannot have enough of those. Also, maybe I would like to take it on a more general base before I come to the justice system itself. I'm really of the conviction that the role of women the role of women played in creation of a better, fairer, and more peaceful society cannot be overestimated. And evidently, women constitute half of the world's population, and they are important multipliers. They are important multipliers because very often, through influence on families and children, women who empower women can also contribute to a empowerment of women altogether, because also of the role they play in a lot of societies in influencing families and children. But with regards to education, because you also posed the question of education, I think that education in this respect is key, because educating young women and educating girls is important to give them the tools to contribute to the society, to give them the tools to be able to reach where they want to be. But still, education is not enough. There's so much more to than only education. We need to enable women to become decision makers, because women are still underrepresented at the highest level of institutions, in politics, in governments, in companies. So we see that there is, in particular, for example, in Austria, we see, for example, in the law field, we have a parity when it comes to law students, male and female, but when it comes to higher level positions, all of a sudden the amount of women, the percentage of women drops drastically. So there is a gap there, and the only thing that I believe that we can do now is really to be together and try to empower each other, build alliances. I think this is one of the things that helped me a lot throughout my career, is to build alliances between other females, females member of parliament, for example, other women, in order to really push each other and try to make each other, to help each other cross those bridges and break the ceiling, and that's, I think these alliances are key in order to promote women and to make it more visible, to make women also more visible. Also, and with these alliances also comes one aspect that I would also like to mention is what we also need, in particular in countries like Austria, but also like all over the world. We need mentors, because very often young women who are incredibly well educated also need to build the confidence and the self-esteem to use this education to make themselves heard. There's this wonderful saying, you won't get the corner office if you don't ask for it. And I think that this is something that should resonate with a lot of women, because a lot of women, when they get asked the question, do you want to take up this possibility or take up this job? They very often say, nah, are you sure? Do you think I'm the right person? And that's why I say to a lot of young women who ask me what they should do is say yes, take up the challenge, take up the opportunities that are posed to you, because very often women can do so much more than they dare admit to themselves. So also, for example, when I was asked, so from personal story, when I was asked if I want to become the Minister of Justice, I hesitated, I hesitated because I thought, maybe an older man would be more appropriate for such a job. But then I got encouraged. I got encouraged by a lot of people, and I said to myself, okay, let's do it. And I'm so happy that I took up this opportunity and got the chance to shape the justice system in Austria, and got the chance to stand up for the independence of justice. And yeah, so that's one of my key advices, like take alliances, make sure to align with other women, to help each other, make sure that you surround yourself with people who support you and the people who encourage you to take steps. And I think that this is also something that we should not only do in a small field, but also institutionalize. And this is one of the reasons why I believe that this program, Women Empowerment Program, can be so powerful, because it can also encourage the women to take the steps forward and use the education that they got to fill these empty seats, being in the companies, in the high-level CEO functions, be it in politics, be it in governments, to fill these empty seats where women are so necessarily needed. And the third point I would like to raise is one aspect that I think is very, very critical. For example, in the Austrian judiciary, we right now do have a a fair share of females and males in the judicial system. Only when it comes to higher level positions, it's the male judges or the male prosecutors that predominate those positions. But I would like to draw your attention a little bit to the historical fact. Only in 1947, Austria had 2 female judges appointed. And this number increased a little bit, but not too much. And it increased significantly after the enactment of the Equal Treatment Act in 1993, where it stated that it's important that there are inequalities and that it's important to support women. And in particular, if you have equal education or equal education to a certain job, that women should get the preference for the job. And only after this Equal Treatment Act was enacted, the number of judges, female judges, increased significantly, also in management positions. And I think that this also shows that having right now where women are not represented or very underrepresented, sometimes this quota can help a lot because it can make women visible in certain jobs. It made, for the judiciary, it made women visible that women can be judges and that women judges is not something that is not seen very often. And so I do think that quota can help a lot in foster visibility and to make sure that women get also those positions where they're not likely seen. In that respect, I'm also thankful for the opportunity to share all these things with you, and I'm looking forward to also the other statements. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Thank you for being with us today and for sharing these interesting stories and anecdotes as well. Thank you so much. Without further ado, it is now my honor and pleasure to introduce Mr. Heinz Fischer, the 11th President of the Republic of Austria from 2004 to 2016, and the co-chair of the Ban Ki-moon Center for Global Citizens. Mr. Heinz Fischer was also the former Austrian Federal Minister of Science and Research and the speaker as well for the Austrian National Assembly. Mr. Fischer, what does the Ban Ki-moon Center do for education for justice and the sustainable development goals, in particular related to women in Latin America? Please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Your Excellencies, dear friends and participants. First of all, I want to say that I listened with great interest what the Austrian Minister of Justice, Mrs. Sadic, said. And if she told us that she was hesitating whether she can manage the job of a Minister of Justice, and finally she was happy that she accepted this challenge, I want to say I'm also happy that you accepted this challenge, because a lot can be done to strengthen rule of law, etc. And our Minister of Justice is on a good way, but this just as a personal introduction. As far as your question is concerned, the Ban Ki-moon Center is based on an idea and proposal of Ban Ki-moon. And Ban Ki-moon, the former Secretary General of the United Nations, and we are really good friends, he was the driving force behind the adoption of the SDGs in September 2015, and behind the tireless proportion of these goals since 2015. Ban Ki-moon and I know each other since almost 20 years when he was Korean ambassador in Vienna. And so after retirement from our functions, we founded together the Ban Ki-moon Center to serve and support the SDGs, the 17 SDGs. Our special focus is directed towards gender equality and the empowerment of youth and women. And continuing to answer to your question, I want to say that indeed the Ban Ki-moon Center is continuously working as good as we can for the empowerment of youth and women in the framework of the Sustainable Development Goals. In this regard, we are grateful to have entered a very meaningful collaboration with UNODC and the State of Qatar in the context of the Doha Declaration already almost a year ago for a women empowerment program Latin America on education for justice. And we have good experience with other similar programs. We officially, publicly kickstart in this program today and are delighted to see representatives from the government of Qatar, welcome, from the GRULAC and the Vienna Diplomatic Academy, and many friends who will work together on this effort. And why is just this topic so important? The SDGs are at the heart of all our Ban Ki-moon Center programs. And I sometimes describe the SDGs as a world government program, a government program for the whole globe. They are our roadmap for the well-being of our planet and the people in the years to come, and can only be achieved in partnership. These SDGs cannot be implemented if we discount half the world. Men and women have to work in unison on equal footing in all areas, including justice and the rule of law. And yet there are still many shortcomings. In this specific program we are talking today, we emphasize SDG 16 and SDG 5 and aim to contribute to the empowerment of young women in Latin America, in particular Bolivia, Brazil, El Salvador, Honduras, and Peru, for the active leadership on the SDGs, the rule of law, and for justice. Obviously, the program also emphasizes the linkages to all the other SDGs. We want to enhance and foster capacity among young women leaders to the extent that they become SDG change makers for the respective communities and hopefully inspire many, many others. We want to strengthen the leadership skills by opening up new networks for them. And we are convinced in the power of education to promote also justice and the rule of law. In the past, the Ban Ki-moon Center worked successfully with young women from the Asian and from the Arab region. And we are excited to finally cross the Atlantic and work with 20 young women, female change makers from Latin America, as I've said before already. We hope that this program will give the young female leaders an opportunity to form bonds and friendships for the years to come and contributing their share as change makers in the implementation of the SDGs in the field of justice and the rule of law. And don't forget, rule of law is an important contributor to peaceful society. Rule of law is also a basis for human rights and for human dignity. And rule of law is a prerequisite for a peaceful development in a country, in a continent, and on the whole globe. Therefore, we are engaged in this respect. Thank you very much and lots of success.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Fischer, for your remarks. We now have the privilege to introduce to you His Excellency Sultan Al-Marzuri, who is the permanent representative of the State of Qatar to the United Nations. You have served in many capacities as ambassador to China, to Mongolia, to the Republic of Korea, and also in your capacity as military attaché, you were always holding up the flag for justice. It's particularly encouraging to see your support for women empowerment. Your Excellency Sultan Al-Marzuri, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Monica. Thank you. Excellency Dr. Fisher, Excellency Minister Al-Marzuri, and Excellency Ghadawali, Director Executive UNODC, and our colleagues, His Excellency Ambassador Lioba Lorenzo. Distinguished guest, good afternoon to you and good morning to you. Where are you? Are in now. Wish you all the best. When we talk about the State of Qatar, first of all, I would like to thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk about very important, in fact, issue and very important topics, which is empowering women is in all societies. In fact, we have to recognize this. But when we talk about the State of Qatar, obviously, we would say still the State of Qatar, as like other region countries in the region, the full empowerment of women is still premature due to certain things, but we will have not the time to talk about it here now. But obviously, we will make a lot of contribution onto that. However, State of Qatar is committed to a case of a woman empowerment since the founding of the modern State of Qatar. The State of Qatar believes that the empowerment of women and the improvement of their political, social, economic, and health status is highly important. In addition, it is essential for a peaceful and prosperous society, including the achievement of sustainable development goals. Qatar National Vision 2030 aims to establish a secure and stable Qatari society operating on the principles of justice, equality, and the rule of law. Enhancing women capacities and empowering them to participate fully on the political and economical sphere, especially in decision-making roles, is a major goal of the vision of 2030 for State of Qatar. A strong political will on the part of the Qatari leadership allowed accelerating measures and enacting legislation enabling women, in addition to provide the country with a woman as a leader. And Her Highness Sheikh Hamouza bint Nasser has taken the lead in introducing initiatives and leading the progress of women's rights and the terms of equality and quantity at the same time. State of Qatar interest in empowering women exceeded the national framework, with initiatives being launched at the regional and the international levels, including support for main resources of United Nations gender equality and empowerment of women, peace and security. The Doha Declaration Global Program activities supports directly or indirectly the goal of the freedom and the empowerment of women around the world. And the Women's Empowerment Program in Latin America, WEP, in cooperation with the Ban Ki-moon Center for the Global Citizen, is an innovative initiative of this gender. I take this opportunity to thank the Ban Ki-moon Center for the Global Citizen for its cooperation to empower women in Latin America through the fostering capacity and action among young women leaders to leverage power of education to promote justice and the rule of law, while strengthening their leadership skill act for the SDGs. The WEP is a concrete example of a cross-regional cooperation on the SDGs and the gesture of help and resilience for women, especially in the difficult time due to COVID-19 pandemic. We need to keep advancing, building up on what we have achieved. And we need to mobilize our communities to change a gender-related concept and enacting legislations and law to ensure women's right to education, employment, and the free expressions, increasing the leadership and the representation's chances of women and empowering women in a key to achieve the sustainable development. And I have to close up with a very important issue, which is obviously, Her Excellency, the Minister mentioned earlier about the building confidence in women themselves. And I mean, the confidence is not only in a region than other regions, but I think what we found in our region is building confidence with women, even with the very educated women, to participate in making decisions and participating in a high level system into the government. It's needed confident due to so many things, obviously, due to maybe a conservative idea, or maybe due to some customs which is already related to their society. But I think we need to work hard in building confidence. I mean, the government has put a lot of tools to facilitate the empowerment of women, but I think we need time to reach the maturity of that empowerment. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, and thank you also for being a great supporter of the Education for Justice initiative, and in particular now this partnership. I have the honor now to give the floor to Her Excellency Ms. Loipa Sanchez Lorenzo, the permanent representative of Cuba to the United Nations in Vienna and the chair of the GLULAC to the United Nations also office in Vienna. Her Excellency serves now as the permanent representative of Cuba to the United Nations in Vienna and also to Austria, Croatia, and Slovenia. Her diplomatic career is really diverse. She has served previously in Russia, Latvia, Luxembourg, and Belgium. And herself, she's a great supporter of women and gender equality. Your Excellency, from your perspective, why is empowering women in Latin America and the Caribbean instrumental in advancing the Sustainable Development Goals? And what is the status quo? And what is your vision also for the future? Please, you have the floor.
Thank you. First, I would like to recognize the presence of Dr. Fischer, the Executive Director of Wadawali, and the Minister of Justice of Austria, as well as the Ambassador Al-Marzuri from Qatar. I feel a pleasure to be here sharing with you in this activity, because this important proposal is aimed to help the situation of women in Latin America. I think that we have the first part of this program that covers 5 countries. We hope that in the future we can enlarge this proposal that will help the situation in the region. First of all, I would like to say that commonly a lot of persons see the region as a homogenic region, and this is not the reality, because there is a lot of difference between countries in the region, and it depends on the policy made by the government of each country, and also by the opportunity of the women in the region. For example, if you see Argentina, they have a lot of NGOs that participates in the development of the women. In Cuba, for example, there is a high policy to enlarge this participation in the women. And for example, we have 22 universities, and 14 of them are run by women. So you see the different situation in different countries in the region, and this is important to take into consideration. One of the important issues that the region has is the regional conference of integration of women in the economic and social development, which is the unique mechanism in the world to discover and to share the situation of the women. This conference is organized every 3 years in the region, and adopt a lot of policy toward to promote the better situation of women in the governance, in the institution, and in the society in general. The most important situation right now is raised by the ECLAC, which is the Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean. This is the Organization of United Nations for Latin America, that said that during the COVID, the region suffered a lot, the impact of the economic situation. For example, the GDP of the region fell down minus 7.7 and affect a lot of sectors in which the women are very important. For example, tourism. Tourism in the Caribbean country constitute the most important revenue of the women, and 73% of the women work in this sector in the region. So the situation with the COVID affect a lot the tourism and then affect the women in the region. For example, the labor participation in the region fall from 52 to 46 in only 1 year of period, which is very important impact in the situation of the women. In this report, they said that 23 million of women in the region lost the job. It means they are unemployed. And this is important since to keep the home, the home working. That affect not only the society, but also the life of the child, the situation of the family. And one important thing that I want to raise also is that the 73.2% of women in Latin America work in the health sector. It's very important to know this because those women face the impact of the COVID because they have to work in the streaming working situation. They have to enlarge the hours in the hospital, and they have to leave their family alone. So this is important question to set in this context. I think that to promote the development of the women, we have not only to encourage to improve the education, but also to give the opportunity to participate in the social, political, and in general in the life of the society. If the women are very strong, but they don't have opportunity to be part of the society, they have not possibility to develop themselves and to show the capacity to be better. I have also to say that we have to promote the inclusive digital transformation because many of the women are not participating in the development of the information of the society, and then they have less opportunity than men to be part of the development of the society. I think we have to also develop a new fiscal covenant and promote gender equality and avoid deepening of women poverty levels, which is very important here, and strengthen the policy toward to ensure women's participation in the dynamic sector of the economy that are in the process of recovering right now after the pandemic. This is my consideration. I hope could be useful. Thank you to the Ambassador of Qatar, the government of Qatar for this initiative. And I hope that we can participate other countries of the region because we are 33 countries. In this initiative, we have only 5, but in the future, we will work for enlarge. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Your Excellency, for your insightful remarks. And indeed, lots of programs like this are needed in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now the pleasure of listening to Amanda da Cruz Costa. She is a young activist from Brazil and has done a lot for sustainable development and has done a lot for the rights of women. And Amanda, let me turn to you. You are working on the ground in Brazil, and you have, of course, many stories that you could share with us today. Tell us from your first-hand experience, how come that involving women in the area of justice and the rule of law and education is so important? What's your take on that? Amanda, over to you.
Thank you for all. First of all, I want to say greetings to all participants, all panelists, and it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to represent Latin American youth in this amazing space. My name is Amanda. I am 24 years old. I am a Black young woman here in Brazil. I'm a climate activist and I'm a founder of Perifa Sustentável, my project to democratize the SDGs to São Paulo's slums. I'm also a columnist of Youth Press Agents. I'm a Forbes Under 30 leader. I'm the vice curator of Global Shapers Community, and I am the UNODC Brazil ambassador. But before sharing my experience working in the field, I'd like to share what it's like to be a Black woman in Brazil. 60% is victim of domestic violence. 10% of Black women with high education, and less than 90% of leadership positions in companies are Black and female. This is a very hard reality. And we have options. We could just sit and watch in the world, or we can change this reality. And I choose to change my reality. I create Perifa Sustentável to be this channel, to be this platform, to be this project, to empower young Black leaders, to empower young Black women. Perifa Sustentável has 3 pillars. The first one is political participations. The second is community actions. And the third is communication. In 2018, I had the opportunity to represent Brazilian youth at United Nations conference in COP23, the climate crisis conference. And I got so frustrated because when I was there, I couldn't see myself represent in the decision makers. I couldn't see myself represented in the politicians. And when I come back to Brazil, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to do something to my community. I need to empower these Black women to be in this space. But there was my second big pain in my heart. My friends, they didn't understand this speech. They didn't want to put their hands dirty and make actions to combat climate crisis. So I stopped it and I started to breathe and to reflect. What I could do to empower this woman, to make this speech very simple and make them believe in themselves to be in this kind of space, and also to implement projects in our community. And I created Perifa Sustentável with this goal, and it was so great because I didn't make by myself. It wasn't Amanda Costa's project. It is my common project. And I got a lot of friends, a lot of institutions that helped me to be where I am right now as a United Nations Youth Ambassadors, as an under 30 leader here in Brazil. And one thing that I want to emphasize is the Youth Ambassador Program here in Brazil, developed by UNODC Brazil between São Paulo City, a public-private partnership. Guys, Perifa Sustentável is not mine. It belongs to my community. Young women can see themselves as leaders, protagonists, and agents of transformation. And how can we make this? First of all, we need to have access to tools, to research, and to training. And when I see an enormous potential in the Women's Empowerment Program, because we are empowering these leaders, these Latin American leaders, to change their realities. And I just want to say thank you for all who dreamed, who developed, and who are supporting this program. And to conclude my sentence, I'd like to read a sentence from a very gorgeous Brazilian thinker. Her name is Jamila Ribeiro. She says, ser mulher é reconhecer nossas potências e fragilidades e entender a importância de restituir nossas humanidades. Translation to English, being a woman means recognize our strengths and weakness and understand the importance of restoring our humanities. Warmly, Amanda Costa. Thank you for all.
Thank you, Amanda, and thank you so much for being with us here today and for giving us also this youth energy that we always need also to see at the United Nations. Before I give the floor together with my dear colleague and friend Monica to the coordinator of the global program, Mr. Marco Teixeira, we have also a special guest with us and also a dear old friend and a great woman as well in the diplomatic career, Her Excellency Ambassador Julia Villatoro, who just wants to give us basically her impression about this program and basically also that El Salvador is one of the selected countries for the Women Empowerment Program. Ambassador, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon, Excellencies, colleagues, and friends. Thank you for giving me the floor and the opportunity to just say a couple of words. I am very happy to be part of a country which will be benefited with this program to engage women in transforming educational policies towards justice. On behalf of El Salvador, I would like to thank the State of Qatar and Ban Ki-moon Center for financially supporting the new Women's Empowerment Program, as well as UNODC, for creating these kind of programs aimed at building capacity and foster action among young women leaders from Latin American countries to leverage the power of education to promote justice and the rule of law, while strengthening their leadership skills to act for the sustainable development goals. I appreciate very much this initiative. I wish you all the best. And of course, being a part of a country as El Salvador, you can count with the support of my country. And for sure, I know that this program will be expanded to all other regions as we are now doing and launching to Latin American countries. Thank you again. Good afternoon and all the best.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency Villatoro. I love the energy in the room, and indeed we have come to a close of this almost, because it's now my pleasure to give the floor last but never least to Marco, who is of course himself the Global Program Coordinator of the Doha Declaration of the United Nations UNODC program. Marco, the wrap up is yours. Over to you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Monica, and obviously I think I'm the most privileged person to speak after so much inspiring words. And I, of course, being introduced by you, Monica, and being co-moderating this with Lulua, which are two of the greatest, more inspiring women I've met in the last months and years. So obviously, this is also a touch for me and gives me the responsibility to try to cope with our inspiring lives and experiences. And now in a more formal note, it is obviously a pleasure to close today's high-level event and the side event that launches formally the Women Empowered Program for Latin America that is developed under the partnership of UNODC Education for Justice, the Ban Ki-moon Center for Global Citizens, and the State of Qatar. It's always rewarding to go back on time and see an idea transform into the reality, and that's what we are doing also now. We have heard inspirational stories and encouraging messages from various diverse panelists and gender champions, I would say. Of course, I would like to appreciate much Ms. Ghada Wali, the Executive Director of UNODC, for indicating that the work of UNODC includes a very strong component on gender as one of our programmatic priorities that is cross-cutting all our mandate areas. Also, a special thank to His Excellency, the Minister of Justice, Ms. Salma Zadik, His Excellencies, the Ambassador Loipa Sanchez Lorenzo and Ambassador Sultan Al-Marzuri for representing their respective visions from Austria, Cuba, the State of Qatar, and of course, presenting us with examples of success in promoting gender equality and I would say also women leadership. I would like also to thank you, our valuable partners of the Ban Ki-moon Center for Global Citizens. Today, the presence of former Austrian President, Mr. Heinz and of course you, Monica Fuller, as CEO of the Ban Ki-moon Center, demonstrates today that just like other events, every single day I'm with you, I'm inspired. And of course, together, we can continue to work another year. And of course, with your commitment, your expertise, we can be the driving force for sustainable change. And we can gain traction and build together a better world. I would like to speak to Amanda in Portuguese, but I can't, so all the speakers can understand. But of course, your experience, Amanda, has brought us the perspective of a youth activist, someone who has dreams, who has beliefs, who has strong convictions, and obviously, since a very young age, is engaging the biggest global actors in the fields of sustainable development. Of course, no dream is big when our hopes and our energy is also big. So I look forward to hear more from you in the future. And also I am very reassured that the future is in good hands, having young activists like yourself. And of course, allow me also to reserve a special moment to my director, Director João Brandolino. Your presence is always a constant in our events. Education for Justice is also part of your vision, your support, and for sure, the women empowerment and engagement in education for justice and rule of law will also continue to be a reality under the leadership of Lulua, and also the Education for Justice team, again, will bring an idea into the reality. The global program, from our perspective, continues to recognize gender equality and women's empowerment as a fundamental elements to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. And all of you today have proven that only by working together and actually putting the woman empowerment topic at the very core of our work, share our common visions and agenda, we can really inspire the next generation to create change makers and obviously making a truthful, valuable contribution to international community. I would like to leave you today with a quote from the UN Secretary General that he actually mentioned during the International Women's Day this year. And I think that reflects perfectly the encouragement of the messages that I have listened today to promote equality, empowerment. And of course, I will continue to try to materialize this vision of the Secretary General. And he mentioned the following: whatever running a country, a business, a social movement, women are making contributions that are delivering for all and driving progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals. It is time to build an equal future. This is a job for everyone and for the benefit of everyone. So with that said, I would like to conclude without forgetting an important element for this event to the Ban Ki-moon Center and Viola and the team that work in the background, obviously under your leadership, Monica, and of course, allow me my 5 seconds to my own team. I have the privilege to work with Lulua, with Leonardo, with Alexandra, with Doris, and for sure I will miss you forever. And you've always been a special place of my memory and my heart, because with you, we transform dreams into reality. And with that said, it was a pleasure to be with you. I hope we can continue to inspire the world together. Thank you.